Welcome to Take It from the Iron Woman. My name is Susanne Müller, your host and the Iron Woman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Iron Woman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. Take It from the Iron Woman. We only have special guests. We're beyond 200 episodes. We've spoken to Özlem before. She is the traveler. She is the facilitator. Thank you so much, Özlem, for having us. Let's take us on a journey with you. How did you get to where you are now?
I was like, my parents came from Turkey to the Netherlands. We struggled between the Turkish and the Dutch culture. It was really bad. I had to strive. And I had to resist, and I had to get where I wanted with like push. That a lot of discussions, arguments, because I wanted to make it. I come from a very traditional family, and my parents wanted me to study, which was very important to them because they are both primary school educated in Turkey, and they were like, "We are here in the Netherlands. You have the opportunity. Just go." Because they came from a very little village in Turkey. They wanted to try to keep their Turkish culture, what they learned, which is very different, super different than a city culture in Turkey, for example, than culture in Istanbul or Ankara or any other big city. There was a big difference between the Dutch culture where we were living in and the culture that they know in Turkish, in Turkey. I struggled a lot with them. I could study, but for example, I don't come late at home, don't have a boyfriend, just be careful, don't walk in the forest alone, all these things, everything was scary. And don't go on exchange when you study. They did not know, I think, my parents, while you're studying, there's a very big thing opening in you. It's not only in the books. I just pushed my parents, and then finally I got it. They said yes, but that was my breakthrough. So I went abroad for 7 weeks to do a summer school, and I stayed 5 years. I went to Istanbul. And for many people, like, oh, you are Turkish, of course. You have a family there. I didn't know anyone. I didn't speak that much Turkish. I didn't know the culture. I knew the village culture of my parents, but I didn't know how, in a very cosmopolitan city like Istanbul, how life works. I didn't know. I went there and I worked at international school. So that was the first connection with international, highly educated people. Let's say that. Because I already grew up in an immigrant neighborhood with Moroccan, Somalian, Polish, Turkish, Italian, Spanish people. But most of them, were, as my parents are, guest workers, like working class. Not a class, but everyone, my dad was working in a factory. All the dads were working in factory, and usually the moms were homemakers. They were at home with their kids, which I actually at that time saw. My mom is not working, but now I'm like, oh my God, she had a full-time job.
Before we go on with the story in Istanbul, this sounds so cool. Your parents said yes, that you could go back to their country. I think that's interesting. Why did you pick, of all the places, why did you pick Turkey? Or was that the choice that you had?
Actually, it's very funny. My parents did not say yes to go back to their country, but they said they could not stand anymore to my begging. Like, I want to go abroad. And actually, funny enough, my dad did not want me to go to Turkey. He was like, we came from there. We already have kind of, in his eyes, developed or whatever that is, and don't go. But that was the begging part. Like, I wanted it. The reason I think was, I was a student and I went on holiday to Istanbul, and I just really loved the city. I still love it. Asia, Europe together.
Yeah.
My eyes were closed. I didn't know anything. I was super naive. I learned the hard way to survive there. And which was sometimes not a loving way, I have to say. A lot of things could happen anytime. And I was always careful and always showing like also that I am super brave and fearless, whereas I was actually super fearful. Yeah, but I loved it. I loved Istanbul, also the international school where I work with the community. We had, people from all over the world working for companies or the consulate. We had soccer players, volleyball players. They were coming to Istanbul to play, and their children, we were teaching them. And my colleagues were super nice. I think one of the best times in my life was the 5 years in Istanbul.
I mean, I've been an expat in New York, right? You and I, we have similar backgrounds. When you come to a new country, even though it was your parents' country, you have to adapt. And what else? You said you were inspired, you were fearful, but on the outside, you were showing off. What do you think you have learned? I mean, it seems like you have grown so much. And what I hear is the international exposure. When we met only online through the podcast fellowship, through the Akimbo family, when I first met you, I was like, oh my God, she's interesting. She's outspoken. She's a fantastic woman. She's inspirational. That's how I pictured you. And now you say you were fearful. What did you learn in Istanbul that makes you now today?
Yeah. I actually went twice abroad. I also lived in Denmark, but the learning from both countries are very, very different. Yeah. In Istanbul, what I learned there is I had to be outspoken. And I was already outspoken when I was a child, but I used that. I was like, not misused it, but I was like, I own it. I'm outspoken. I had to just say what I wanted and what I did not want. Very clear and direct. And in Istanbul, somehow, while I was feeling in the Netherlands very Turkish, I started feeling all of a sudden very Dutch. I'm like, I'm not Turkish at all. The culture I know is super different than in Istanbul. I started using my Dutch side. And also, I think I had a lot of resistant experiences in being an underdog in Istanbul. Because people also always thought like, oh, did your parents go to Turkey, to the Netherlands as engineers for factories and all? And they were very like into that. And I was like, no, as guest workers. What? Like, I just want to own it. What do you have to say? I don't want to use the word, I think, but I was very tough woman there.
And combative comes to my mind when I listen to you. Like you were battling, you were like, I show you combative, right? Like competitive, and you were, how can I say, you were defending your culture and your parents, and you were.
I was defending my parents especially because I think there was also, I do not have a headscarf. My mom has a headscarf on, and some of the people that I met, they were into people that were not wearing a headscarf and had really harsh judgments about people with a headscarf. But also the opposite, unfortunately. People with a headscarf had judgments about the people that did not. It was very weird. People see me with short shorts, and I'm walking there with a sleeveless top, and they think like, who is this? And then I walk with my mom, and the combination is like, and it was so the battle between West and East. I'm not saying here like all people in Istanbul have headscarves because they're religious and non-religious people. But I was always in between, and I feel still in between. But when we go to, for example, to an abroad experience, when I moved to Denmark, I came back from Istanbul 2 years. I lived in Amsterdam, and I moved to Denmark. I had to learn there to be humble because the Danish culture is very humble. They kind of expect that from you. I love the Danish culture, by the way. I also love the Turkish culture.
All the cultures are nice, right? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But there, I had to sometimes temper my temperament, which I have. I am this person too. because there it's very important that you make everyone speak. What do you think, Susanne? What do you think? Yeah, okay. And let's look at another viewpoint. There, it's so flat. It's so flat. I could call the CEO and say, hey, I saw this in the business case, but I do not really agree with that. Mm-hmm. Can we also look at it from this viewpoint? While I was a business trainee there, but in Istanbul, luckily I could do it because my boss was Scottish. It was an international school, but usually the culture there is, first you are an assistant, then I don't know, maybe the assistant of an assistant even, then the assistant, then this, then that. What I actually learned from my not only abroad experiences, but being exposed to different cultures from the age of 0, let's say, is to adapt myself in any circumstance very easily, which was like, it's now easy. Like you did 26 marathons, right? It's now easy to do the 27th, maybe. It might be still difficult, but you have done it 26 times. And I have done it for 36 years. I'm 36. And I really did it 36 years since I was a baby. My brother is also very good at it. When we go to a rural village in Turkey, and people are eating on the floor with only one spoon, no knife, we can eat because we ate at my grandparents' place like that. But I also know people in Istanbul, they would be like, do I have a napkin, or how does it work? Where do I clean my hands? Yeah. But when I go to a Michelin restaurant with whatever, 3 forks, 3 knives, I can also eat. I know because I also learned that. And even I'm not thinking about it. I was last year in Sardinia with my Dutch friend. In Sardinia, they speak, of course, Italy, Italian. And I call a restaurant to make a reservation. And I automatically, without thinking, I talk to him like this. Yes, please, we want reservation. Yeah, 9:00 is good. Yeah, no problem. And my friend is laughing at me. She says like, well, why are you talking this way English? And I'm like, I don't know. He's talking in a melody because the Italian has a really nice melody in their Italian language. So the guy is also talking to me like that. I'm like, I don't know, because he talks to me like that and I just adapt to it. And that is, I think, really the power of having been exposed in different cultures.
I love that story. Let's talk a little Italian, right? We adapt probably to whatever.
Let's do that. Or with Spanish people, guapa, come estás? No problem.
No problem.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like,
I can only share my story. I traveled the world. Obviously, I was lucky. I was working for the airline, and the minute I was able to travel, I was like, let me go. Every month I traveled someplace, and I can travel to any parts of the world. People come up to me and they ask me in Brazil, in Portuguese, where is the bus? And I'm like, do I look Brazilian? A little bit, maybe. I go to India. They ask me, where is the bathroom? Do I know where the bathroom is? No. I'm standing in New York City on the platform. People are asking me, is this uptown or downtown train? I don't know. I ask a friend of mine and she says, you have a friendly face. Maybe people are not afraid. Love to hear more. Love to travel with you. Have coffee in a foreign place when we can travel again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Susanne.
Isn't the story beautiful? How we can learn from her. What will you take away from this episode? Take it from the Iron Woman. We have episodes every Monday, every Wednesday. Don't miss out. There is something for everybody. And Take It From the Iron Woman is also a book. It's about global business coaching with sports parallels. Something for you, something for your friends. Don't miss out. It is my journey from Switzerland to New York to Kilimanjaro and beyond. See you next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.